Let's see if this is any better. Hopefully it is.
Let's see how this sounds. There's no reason for that to have happened, so
yeah.
we're not really sure.
We don't have like anything else hooked up, or
I mean, that wasn't a cricket outside. The crickets are allowed.
The
here.
crickets are loud. But that was definitely
that was not it.
That was not a cricket. We went back and listened, and it started like 20 seconds in, and it was just like,
yeah, strange. How does
so
it sound now, guys?
Right now it sounds good.
Okay, they're saying it's better.
Let us know if it goes crazy again, and then we'll just do it from my phone, and we'll live our best lives on there. This is just easier because we have a bigger screen.
It's definitely easier.
So perfect. Everybody's like perfect now.
Okay.
At least
something odd.
The 1 minute we are on.
Well, Facebook was down today.
Facebook was down. Facebook was down today. Like in all the social media groups I'm in, like the past couple days, it's been a mess.
Yeah.
And like, you know, people are like, I'm getting notifications from posts I put up 4 years ago. What's going on? And
yeah. So something's odd.
Yeah. So here we go. Somebody said it's my white noise machine in Defiance. You're actually correct, Jennifer.
Maybe it was interfering upstairs.
So as you can see, I am in Jersey in Shari's house. I got in after 3.5 hours of flight delays last night. There were storms all over the East Coast.
That was a hell ride home.
It was awful. And I've not checked the news, so I hope there was no like crazy tornadoes or anything. I hope everybody's okay from the storms because it was real bad. We could barely see the drive once we got to Jersey.
That was a white knuckle drive.
It was bad.
I was like, oh.
And then you have those semis just like barreling down the road like it's not an issue. Like, no, girl, you got to slow down. So we got, for those of you who missed the first Facebook Live with the great noise, we got in last night. We had some snacks, and then Shari has this new chair in her house that's one of those like zero gravity. So you sit in it and you go geek, and it is unbelievable. It wrecked my back, and I was in there for probably almost 2 hours.
You were 2 hours.
Almost 2 hours.
Yeah, 2 hours.
And it was just, it's so good. I'm going to get it back in it again tonight. And then I go into New York for meetings and things tomorrow. So I was able to make this work because I was actually coming to New York anyway. Yeah. Is what's crazy. And we're like, we could like knock this out while I'm there. And
perfect.
I was like, game on.
Whenever we can do these together in person, because you're in Denver, I'm here in Jersey, and it doesn't happen that often. But it is fun to do it together here in person.
Yes. So today's Facebook Live, because this is World Breastfeeding Week.
It is
2018. Y'all know Shari, but like, go introduce yourself.
Yeah. All right, me. Forgot. I'm here. So for all those who do not know me, Jamie and I are together doing this for, every month for the last few years. So a lot of you do, but there's always new people. I'm Shari Criso. I'm a registered nurse, and I'm a certified nurse midwife and an international board certified lactation consultant. I take care of moms and babies online mostly now, but I've been doing this for many, many years in every capacity. I delivered babies for a long time, and then my specialty has been breastfeeding for the past decade. It's really the focus of what I do and what I teach, and all the moms that I support every day. And I see so many of you here in the chat. But one of our favorite things to do together, and Jamie and I have been doing this for a decade.
A
long time. And actually, it's like that whole, coming out to Jersey, this is exactly what we used to do.
I met Shari online back in the days of Twitter.
Yes.
And she used to do a live stream in her store with like way too much equipment because it's what we had to do.
There was nothing.
And, so I found her and what she did, and it was called My Baby Experts. Excuse me, I got a hiccup. And she used to talk with all these like thought leaders in the baby space and like all these very highly credentialed people and people that develop brands. And I was like, this is super interesting to do in an online format. So I came out here, it would have been about 9 years ago.
It was 9 years ago.
And came to the store that she used to run, and we did a Facebook Live on like baby gear.
Yeah.
And I used to come out every couple months.
Yeah, definitely. There's several episodes.
Yeah, and so I used to come out, but it was like back in the day before you could just do it on your phone or whatever.
You look like a baby in those videos, and I have my curly hair, and
you
the
had
two
your
of us.
curly hair. It's a treat.
I
for
do
an
have
evening.
replays. I'll post some replays of Jamie and I. But the best part was, like, even from that first stream, it was exactly like it is right now. It's like you know somebody and you've known them before.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's always been like that.
It's always we've always just been a mess. A very good mess.
It's always been the same mess. It is
but
our mess.
It is our mess.
I
embrace it, quite frankly.
And they're into it too, our mess.
Yeah.
You know? It's all right.
It's
messy is
so
fine.
Good. Mess
We're all
is
a
good.
mess, right?
You just have to embrace your inner mess, and then you're set. You're set after that. So this Facebook Live is a little bit different. We are here with Byram Health.
Byram Healthcare.
Yeah, Byram Healthcare. So it is World Breastfeeding Week. For those of you who don't know, it is always something. Laura's like the Sherry poof. Accurate statement. So World Breastfeeding Week is always the very first week of August, and it's just there to kind of, the idea in an online format is to celebrate and educate and kind of talk about breastfeeding and pumping and all of this. And, you know, we normally have something going on every day, but you've been doing a lot of stuff regarding like rights under the Affordable Care Act and what exactly it is with DMEs and getting your pump and all of that. So that is what we are focusing on today. So if you know anyone in your life that is expecting or even trying to conceive, or, you know, any of it, this is going to be a very, very different Facebook Q&A, and this is going to be very good information. So please tag your friends who might need this. Make sure you share it in your groups. This is not necessarily a product-based Facebook Live. This is an info-based Facebook Live.
Definitely.
Not that they're not always info-based, but this is one specific area of a topic that a lot of people actually have no clue about. So I'm totally letting her lead this. And we're just going to chat, and it's going to be great.
It's a great topic that I've been discussing a lot with Byram Healthcare together, where we've been talking about this subject on all different news channels and interviews. We did a radio tour the other day, 12 interviews in one morning about this topic. So that was kind of cool. First time I've ever done that. A little exhausting, but great. But the main point here is that, you know, we talk so much about breastfeeding, that breastfeeding is so good, that we should be encouraging moms to breastfeed. But what we're seeing is that moms don't understand their benefits under the law, under the Affordable Care Act. There are benefits that you are entitled to. And Byram sponsored a study. It was actually a survey that they did with 1,000 moms across the country. It was a third-party survey. And what they found were results that were not really shocking to me, but should be shocking. And that's that only 18% of the moms that were surveyed knew their benefits under the ACA when it came to breastfeeding. 82% did not know.
I always, you know, at Gear Paloozas and everything, I'm always like, how many of you are aware, you know, when I start talking about pumps and whatever, we talk about features, but then I'm like, how many of you actually know that under ACA, and again, there are some random exceptions every now and then, but your pumps are usually covered. And people are like,
I didn't know. Well, you know, when you're in this field like you and I are, or some of the moms here that have been following us, they're part of the conversation, and we talk about this every month about getting your pump through insurance. You know, we assume everybody knows, but moms, you know, they conceive, they're expecting, and it's their first time being introduced to this whole entire topic. The problem is they're not getting this information from the sources that you would think they would be getting them from. So basically, you know, there's 3 parts to the Affordable Care Act when it relates to how it relates to breastfeeding. And the 18% that knew those benefits, we're talking about knowing all their benefits. So if it was just the breast pump, it was 42% didn't know their benefits, that it included a breast pump. You understand?
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
so 42% of moms did not know that they could get a free breast pump under the Affordable Care Act. 64% didn't know that you can get lactation consulting services at no cost.
I'm gonna see myself out because I didn't even know that.
Yeah, these are so. Let's talk about the three main benefits under the Affordable Care Act, and this has been in place for 8 years.
Okay. I knew about pumps, and I know
exactly.
sometimes depending on like who you use and whatever and what your coverage is, that like your parts and your accessories could sometimes be covered. I actually had no idea that lactation consultants.
Yeah, so lactation consulting services, so a consultation with a lactation consultant is covered by the ACA at no cost. So let's talk about the three things that really make up these benefits, and that's the no-cost breast pump, free breast pump covered by insurance at no cost. Lactation consulting services covered at no cost, okay? And that employers are required to provide a clean, private space for you to pump while you're at work, and breaks, okay, while you're at work that is not a bathroom. All right, those are the three main provisions of the ACA. And like I said, 8 years this has been in place. If you didn't know, and so many don't know, are they really using these incredible benefits?
Like I knew about the time to pump. I knew about the pump. I had no idea about lactation consultants.
Lactation consultants are covered.
Okay.
So, you know, and of course, like everything else with insurance, it varies. Sometimes state to state, it can vary a little bit. But these are the services, and this is the law. This is the law. So 18%, it was only 18% of moms knew those three things. So that's a vast majority that doesn't know the benefits.
Wow.
How many of you guys in the audience knew these things that I just went over, or is this a surprise to you? What was not a surprise to me was that it was only 18%, because when I look at and I talk to moms every day, most of them don't know. Most of them don't know that they can get this. And why I spend so much, and you guys know, spend so much of my time talking about breast pumps, talking about how to get them, talking about this benefit, and making sure that you all go and apply for your pump while you're expecting. And that's the other thing, is that there's so much confusion. And especially in today's day when we're talking so much about medical coverage and affordable care, and people think that, oh, that doesn't exist anymore. There's misconceptions around the Affordable Care Act that it's like gone, that it doesn't exist, that those benefits are not there. And that's not true. It still exists. It's still there. You can still get this. So I think that it was not surprising to see that. And what I'd like to say is that, you know, when you're expecting, there's so many things that you need to take care of. There are so many things to do when you're pregnant to prepare for the baby. And a few things are most important, like finding a good pediatrician, you know, getting yourself ready for the birth, having that all, you know, set up, and getting a few of the products, or setting up your nursery a little bit so that you're prepared for the baby to come home. But one of the main things that you should be doing is getting your breast pump. It's not just for when you go back to work. Breast pumps are obviously essential for working moms. In this country, we don't have extended paid maternity leave the way they do other places. So a lot of moms need to go back to work. They're, you know, separated from their babies, which is a whole other topic, but that is the case. And because of that, having your breast pump is going to be critical for those moms who are returning to work. But you might ask, like, why do you need a breast pump right off the bat if I'm just going to be with the baby and I need to, you know, just be breastfeeding? Sometimes when you first have the baby, there's challenges. You know, you may struggle with latch. You may be setting up a consultation to see that lactation consultant under your benefits, right? And you're setting up that visit, and it's tomorrow, and you're thinking, okay, that's great, I got a visit for tomorrow, but there's like 12 feedings between now and tomorrow, and I can't latch the baby. What am I going to do? And so having that pump, it's not the kind of thing you want to like try ordering once you have the baby and you're having an issue. You want to have it set up. You want to have the parts cleaned. You want to read the instructions when you're not like, you know, hours of no sleep. You want to be able to understand how to use it. And if you have questions, that you've kind of gone over that while you're pregnant.
It's like I always say, unless something happens and it's like a very quick, out of nowhere, like emergency labor situation, or like, you know, with adoptive parents, it's obviously a little bit different because that can also be very last minute. Get your car seat early.
Yeah.
And read
Well,
your
that's
instructions.
that's
and
one
get
of
it
those
installed.
things
and it's
that you need to take care of. Yeah.
Learn how to use it before you have to put a child in it.
Exactly. Car seats and breast pumps.
Mm-hmm.
2 things.
Car seats and breast pumps. The Jamie and Shari story. It's a Lifetime movie. It's a Lifetime movie. It's going to be so good. Meredith Baxter Burney is going to play me. If Meredith Baxter Burney, it's going to be so good.
It's so true, right? Breast pumps and car seats, the 2 things that you should have ready. The 2 most critical items probably you need for when your baby comes home, except for some diapers too. But also the 2 things that you should never purchase used.
Yeah.
The 2 things that you don't do a hand-me-down on, right? Is a car seat and a breast pump.
And with pumps, it's 1 per child pregnancy.
Yes.
Correct? Yes.
Yep. You can get a new breast pump each time
Which
you have
is what you should do anyway,
Mm-hmm.
because with pumps you're dealing, it's not necessarily that like, oh, you're, based on what pump you have or whatever. It's not that it's just going to be like, it could be dirty and whatever, it's your motor.
Yeah.
You want to make sure your motor is in really good shape. And, if your motor if you have pumped a whole lot, used it a lot, your motor can wear down. Yeah. And then you need that motor to be like functioning on all cylinders in the beginning to help establish and maintain supply. Absolutely.
And you're entitled to that benefit. Get a new pump. If you had a new baby, get a new pump, use the new one, and at the very least, get new parts, get new collection bottles, get new flanges, get new tubing, get these stuff so that at least those parts are clean, especially some pumps are open systems. You want to make sure those are replaced frequently, but make sure you get, and even if you bought one already and you're like, oh, I didn't know I had this benefit, get another one. Have one for work and one for home. Use your benefit. Go ahead and get it. And Byram Healthcare did this survey. I've been working with them this month to get this information out. I felt like it was a great public service, to be able to get this out to moms, because, we put these services in place, the law put these provisions in place because they felt like this is the thing that's going to help moms to succeed breastfeeding. But if they don't know that it exists, is it really going to help? Yeah. It's not going to help. And often you'll hear moms say that you found out that you could get this pump or you can have a consultation, but they already stopped breastfeeding. It's too late.
I mean, I honestly, I feel like, we always talk about like the fact that you can get your pump and whatever, but I think just the fact that you can like get your lactation consultant like covered, I had no idea. I had no idea. Yeah. So fantastic. I think that's really good information. One of the problems I think is that they're not, and they showed this in the survey too, is that the places where you would typically find out about this, they're not getting the information. Only 1/3 of the moms surveyed said that they received this information from their OB/GYN. Yeah. Only 1/3. One of the ladies on here, it scrolled up already.
Yeah.
And she said she feels so fortunate that her doctor told her about all of her rights under ACA and all of that.
Exactly.
Wonderful.
And they should be doing that. And speaking of lactation consultation, that's the prize today. So if you guys want to win, I'm giving away 2 private telephone consultations with me. That means you can use it anytime for the next 6 months, or if you're pregnant now and you need it later, I'm
15 years from now, if you just want to call Shari and check in.
You just want to chat, whatever you want. Okay, so 2 telephone consultations with me, 2 winners. Go to the link that's here in the post. Yeah. It's that bit.ly link with WBW Byram. And we can
you can enter everything through there. There's some other stuff as well.
Yeah, there's some awesome sweepstakes from Byram too right now to win a newborn photo shoot as well. And all you have to do is post a picture of your
some kind of photo, and you use their hashtag.
Yeah, fantastic. Do we have questions? I think we have some breastfeeding questions.
We do have quite a few questions, and I'm sure that will beget more. And I have them here on my phone in my ugly case. Everybody gives me crap about this case, but there's nothing wrong with it. And quite frankly, my tripods scratch them up.
You know what? So it's like weathered. It's weathered. And it looks like, when you have like faded jeans and like holes in them.
It just feels right.
I see some holes in your case. got a look to it.
All right.
Sure.
Mandy Hayes Hesselbeck. I don't know if you're in here right now. She has a question. She's due August 30th with her first. Very good. Wanting to breastfeed, but will also need to pump. Will be returning to work after 12 weeks, but will need to establish a freezer supply. I've received conflicting information from when to start pumping from different IBCLCs and pumping and breastfeeding moms. IBCLCs say after 6 to 8 weeks. Friends who pump and breastfeed say to start ASAP because they listened to the IBCLCs and their supply went down. Who's right?
Good question. They're kind of both right. So let's address what are you going to do to.
Oh, Mandy's here. She says hi.
Awesome.
Howdy, Mandy. Hey, girl.
So both really are right. It's somewhere in between. And you're talking about pumping for storage. Is that what she's saying here? When you have the baby, you don't want to over pump because you can produce an oversupply. So over pumping, you want to get your milk supply really regulated and to the baby as fast as possible. That means getting through that engorgement phase, getting to the point where the baby's eating what you're making, and you've really kind of gotten into a groove with that before you start pumping for storage. That being said, there are so many moms that are going back to work really soon, where they can't wait like 6 weeks or 12 weeks to start pumping some storage because they're going back to work at 6 weeks. So I kind of
or much earlier,
exactly. And so I kind of address this in two ways. One is I like to introduce, first of all, a little bit of pumping every day to get your body used to that pumping routine. And pumping and nursing are very different. And so sometimes if you wait a really long time, it can be hard to get used to a breast pump, which is a machine. And also introducing your baby to the bottle a little sooner. 6 weeks is a long time. Babies develop a nipple preference by the time they're 3 weeks old. And very often if you wait 4, 6, 8, 12 weeks to introduce a baby to a bottle, they'll reject it. So what I say is that, pumping little tiny bits, like I'm talking half an ounce, starting a week or two after birth, once your breastfeeding is well underway, you're having no latching issues. This is important. It's not just a blanket statement. It means everything's going well. You're beyond any kind of issues. The baby is gaining weight. The milk is flowing and you're doing well. You can start pumping just a half an ounce once a day, start introducing that little bit to the baby in the bottle, finish that feeding at the breast. We're not pumping out an entire bottle of milk. At 6 weeks, you can start to pump up some stash, some freezer stash or supply in addition to what you're feeding the baby. But if you're going back to work sooner than that, what I would say to do is try not to worry about having too much stored for your first day back. This idea that you need to have 10, 12, 15 feedings in the freezer just to go back to work is really untrue. And when you start to calculate, like, how much do I really need for my first day back? I have a whole chapter in my breast pumps and briefcases class about this where we do the calculation. I think we've shown it before. You want to calculate out, okay, if I'm going to be gone from the baby for 8 hours and there's going to be 3 feedings in that time period for that first day back, and I'm feeding the baby something like maybe 3 ounces at a feeding, okay, then we're talking about 9 ounces for your first day back. If you want to be safe, go with 10 or 11. But even that, if you gave yourself a week or 10 days to pump 9 ounces, you're pumping an ounce a day to store. An ounce is a very small amount. So even if you just pumped a little after each feeding during the day or pumped a little bit before the feeding at one feeding during the day, you would have that ounce, and within 10 days, you'll have enough for your first day back. And then you'll pump at work, right? With the pump that you got, with the breaks that you're entitled to. And then you will use that milk for the second day. And you'll catch up on some freezer stash. So I think it's really individual. It depends on your situation. And I don't think waiting 12 weeks is necessary.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go.
Somebody was having questions. Jamie Grayson, is it just me or is the link for the phone consultations not working? It goes through Facebook Messenger. So it's actually better to wait until the video is over and then click through. It's much easier for you to do that for anyone who's entering.
The links don't work on mobile within the chat when we're live.
Yeah.
They'll work on a desktop. So if you're on a desktop, you could click through, but don't worry about it. It's in the post. So wait and listen to all the good information right now. And then after we're done, just click through. It'll take you through to my messenger and you'll have everything there that you need to enter.
Kara Walcott. Kara, if you're here, say howdy. Hope you're here. Thanks, Shari and Jamie, for all of your info. You're quite welcome. And I'm also going to call Shari out really quick because I witnessed something last night and she didn't know I was going to say this. But Shari, Shari was tagged on Instagram in Spanish.
Oh, I forgot all of that.
She was tagged in Spanish. And so she's like, how do I read this? How do I read this? So we took a screenshot and we put it through Google Translate. And we have no idea where this woman lives because we can't figure it out based on her Instagram profile.
Somewhere in South America.
But she wrote this beautiful post that was like, you know, you get all this information all over the place and whatever. But the woman who has saved me lives many kilometers away.
Does not know I
exist. But because of her and her classes, she has enabled me to breastfeed and pump and all of this. And then she talks about like the community and everything that, you know, Shari has with like her private group and all of this. And it was a very wonderful thing to witness. And then Shari started crying, and rightfully so.
I'm like ready to cry again. I forgot all about it. We're looking at that very late last night.
Very late. It was pretty great. It was pretty great. So we're going to go back to the questions.
Thank you for reminding me.
Of course, Muffin. Kara Walcott. Thanks, Shari and Jamie, for all of your info. I'm due in 2 weeks with her first, and since it has been 9 months without wine, what is the best way to balance occasional drinking and breastfeeding?
This is a good question because we cover this often.
All the time.
All the time. Everybody has this question. Can I drink and breastfeed? And then there was some research done recently. So there's a lot of like conflicting stuff going on right now that of course just makes everybody feel bad and puts more guilt and more stress on moms that they don't need. Okay. And even that research that was done, it was a study done in Australia with like 5,000 moms, but I feel like it was kind of conflicting information. There's more that's needed. They didn't test the actual alcohol levels in moms. It was more like their reports of them drinking. So like how accurate was it actually? And then it also showed, what seemed conflicting was it showed that for children, if you stop drinking, if you just drank while breastfeeding during the early part of breastfeeding, that's where they saw these negative impact. But if you continued to drink the whole time you're breastfeeding, they didn't see it. So the point was like, don't stop. I don't know. That doesn't make sense to me, right? That whole group did not have an issue. So what I'm going to say is I'm going to go back to what my advice is and always has been, because I don't feel like anything's changed. It just had some really good headlines that, you know, again, mom shaming.
Clickbait.
Yeah, exactly. So the answer to this is that, yes, when you're breastfeeding, it is okay to have an occasional drink. I would say that in moderation. And so just like, you know, we don't know the answers of everything, you don't want to just go and get bombed and breastfeed your baby. If you feel drunk, you are too drunk to feed the baby. And then yes, in those situations, you will need to pump, you know, have some pumped milk ready for your baby. But if you're talking about an occasional drink and you're not feeling it and you've had a drink and now you've waited 2 hours or even 3 hours to feed, it is fine to feed your baby. There's the percentage of alcohol that's in the milk is much smaller than the percentage that's in your bloodstream. It's different than when you're pregnant. And so the answer is really different. Like when moms ask me, well, can I have an occasional drink when I'm pregnant? My answer is no. Like I wouldn't if I was pregnant. And what I recommend to my patients is don't drink while you're pregnant. We see that even the smallest amounts can have impacts. We don't know which babies are going to be impacted and at what point in the pregnancy. We're talking about a blood connection with a developing fetus, right? And an immediate.
And this is one of the things I think will forever be contested until there is some definite scientific something somewhere, because I know in some cultures in Europe, like people freely will have an occasional drink and whatever while they're pregnant, but we just don't know. Yeah,
and the research that's coming out about drinking in pregnancy is definitely more negative than the research we see with breastfeeding. Yeah. So even though people do it, is it the right thing to do? Again, personal decisions, but I just want to make it clear that it's really different when we talk about pregnancy, when we talk about breastfeeding. Yeah. The amount that goes into your milk of anything, and here's why I feel so strongly. It's not like I'm saying go drink. It's not, This is not my advocacy for drinking.
Don't have a lot of white wine and sit in Shari's massage chair.
Even though I like to have a glass of wine, even though I'm totally, I had some drinking when I was breastfeeding, occasionally. This is not to advocate for drinking. The reason that I like to talk about this is because the misinformation about what is allowed while you're breastfeeding causes moms to not breastfeed. And it's inaccurate. So maybe it's, I'm on this medicine and I'm taking this antibiotic, and my doctor said I have to pump and dump and not breastfeed for the next week. Or I had minor surgery and I had anesthesia, and the anesthesiologist told me I need to pump and dump for 24 hours. What am I going to do with this kid that only likes to nurse? That's all inaccurate. And so when we talk about this, I get passionate about this particular subject because anything that interferes with a mom's ability to continue breastfeeding, when it's not true, when it's misleading, when there's no reason, when the risk to the baby and to the mom of discontinuing for that 24 hours or for those 3 days far outweighs any small risk that might be there of that minute amount of medication that might not even be in the milk anymore or ever, depending on many things like molecular weights and the way that it crosses and all kinds of things, drives me crazy.
Yeah.
There you go. Drives me crazy.
There you have it.
So drinking in moderation, be smart, space out the feedings, do it right after you nurse, do it right while you're nursing.
Have a glass of wine to treat yourself when you are done.
Yeah, and then wait 2 hours and feed the baby. And if you drank and you're feeling it, don't feed the baby.
And there you have it.
And don't pump and dump it out. Just wait another half an hour until you feel good. It's diffusing into your milk, but it's also diffusing out. It doesn't stay there. Yes, so much Shannon saying yes, so much misinformation out there.
Yep.
There really is.
Faith ARP, name I recognize, howdy. First off, thank you for all that you do for the breastfeeding and parenting communities. I am so grateful for your live streams, and I have learned so much. Quite welcome. That's good stuff.
Yes.
So I am an exclusive pumper for my 6-month-old, almost 5-month adjusted NICU warrior. My question is, with power pumping, how should I go about doing that? Should I just power pump once a day, or am I destined to spend all day attached to my pump?
And why is she power pumping?
That's
an exclusive pumper?
Exclusive pumper, little NICU baby.
Okay.
5-month-old adjusted, but 6-month-old.
Okay.
So that would mean he was about a month early.
Yeah.
Much like myself.
Yeah.
I was 5 weeks early. I weighed 5 pounds.
There you go.
Little angel. I had pyloric stenosis,
yeah.
so I had to have that surgery done.
Aww. We love NICU babies and all the mamas who work so hard to keep providing breast milk. It's not easy. Question I have is, why is she power pumping right now at 6 months old? Sounds like she's exclusively pumping. So maybe she's trying to increase her supply, although 6 months is a good time when you can start to introduce solids to the baby too. Mm-hmm. So I'm really not clear about the question of why you want to power pump. Power pumping can work to help stimulate more milk. If the baby's going through a growth spurt and you're exclusively pumping, that may be a reason to do a little power pumping. Best way to do it is just to alternate sides back and forth like several times, wait a half an hour, pump again. The main thing that here's what I'm going to say. Instead of clear instructions of how you exactly have to do it, think of the concept instead. What we're trying to do is simulate what the baby does during a growth spurt, right? How does supply and demand work? When you stimulate the breast, when you drain the breast, your body gets signals to make a lot more. And so if you can keep that breast completely drained, meaning every half an hour putting the pump back on, or switching back and forth twice or 3 times during a pumping session, even you're doing it on both sides, hopefully, so that's not going to work exactly the same way as nursing. But But by draining the breast and keeping the breast frequently pumped and empty, you're going to give your body real big signals to make more milk. The longer stretches that you go between pumping sessions or waiting for them to fill, whether that's nursing or pumping, gives your body the signal to make less milk. And you hear this all the time, or maybe you don't. I hear this all the time. Well, I was waiting to feel full. You know, my breasts feel really empty, and they'll talk to me while they're going like this. And they're like, yeah, I feel nice and full now. Now I'm going to pump. That's kind of the opposite of what you want to do. When you feel full, you probably waited too long. You want to feel more empty. That means that you're feeding frequently. But, you know, again, this goes back to the conversations of how much milk do you actually need. More milk's not necessarily better. You need what you need, right? And so if you're connected to your pump 24/7 and you don't need all that milk, then get clear about what you need.
This is actually a good one. Jamie's been in here this whole time. Is it true that each breastfeeding experience can be different? With my first, it was such a struggle to provide enough, and it ended up majorly stressing me out. I'm trying not to let those negative thoughts deter me from breastfeeding my second. Absolutely.
Yeah, they're all different. Just like the pregnancy is different. You're talking about a different child. So like that's the surprising part for so many moms. It was for me too. Like even the pregnancy is different between babies because it's not just you. You're not the only variable. There's two variables in every pregnancy. There's two variables in every breastfeeding relationship, and that's you and your child. And now you've got a different person that you're dealing with, right?
Nobody's boring me. I'm just tired.
He always yawns when I talk. Don't you know
also,
that?
The problem with doing Facebook Lives, also a lot of it depends on where the light is. And me by nature, because I notice it when I do it at home, because I'm looking at like my computer screen or my phone and I have a brighter light behind me, something about that triggers me to get very tired.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is, but I just start to get a little tired and I have to yawn.
Yep.
Kristen Wicked telling me.
And you know how yawns are contagious? So he does this to me every single time. So normally when Jamie and I stream, he's in Denver, I'm in Jersey. And when we look at the screen, what we're seeing on our end is I'm looking right at his face completely, and he's looking at me. So imagine I'm trying to talk to you, and Jamie's doing this. And he can't tell. Like I'm sitting there trying to just act normal, keep talking. Look enthusiastic.
A yawn, and you can't help it. If you just need to yawn, you need to yawn.
But you know, it's like contagious.
Oh yeah.
Right? So then I feel like I'm gonna yawn in the middle of my conversation. So it's actually easier. I'm looking at myself versus looking at you.
It's fine.
What was I talking about?
How each pumping, each nursing, and it's all a different experience with every child.
It's a different experience. And what I would say is expect it to be different in a good way, and also if it's not going as well. It's not your fault. Things are different with different children. And if you had a hard experience the first time, you know, it may be the same, it may not be. The main thing is I think what I see is that for second-time moms who breastfed successfully the first time, even if they struggled with their second child, somehow there's a personal knowing that this is going to get better. Like, you know, even though if you're struggling, you're like, I know I'm good. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. Like, this is going to work. I'm going to stick with it and I'm going to be able to do it. The first time moms can often struggle because you don't know there's a light. Like, you don't know that there's just a hump you really need to get over. There's really a point where it's going to get easier. It feels like it's always going to stay hard, like it is those first few weeks. And that's where you have to really lean into people like myself, or people in my community. Like my Facebook group is great for that, because you kind of have to trust us to say, we know it's really hard. It is really hard. And yet it's going to get better. You don't have your own personal experience to pull on. So if you're a first-time mama out there, lean into moms, lean into us to help you know that. And for moms who have been successful with it, often you'll go towards your friends or family that did not succeed with breastfeeding to get breastfeeding advice. Doesn't really make sense, and it will only discourage you and cause more difficulty. You don't know if the advice they're giving you is that one thing that had them not succeed. So they're giving you their advice, and then you ask them, well, did I breastfeed? Well, not really. It only lasted like 6 weeks. So
villages are very important, but you also have to learn to edit your village down according to what you need it for.
Yeah. Go to my Facebook group. Stephanie will post. She's posting for me. Stephanie's in our group. She's one of my students. She's working with me as an admin now, and she'll post here. It's My Baby Experts community, and we have like almost 3,000 moms and dads now in there, and it's a really active group. Everybody answers questions and communicates, and it's really, really good. And I want to mention one thing too. Yeah. I have Simply Breastfeeding is my main class, and that is the class that I've taught for years and years and years to help moms and dads be able to get off to the right start with breastfeeding. And that class is available and at no cost. If you go to simplybreastfeeding.com, you can sign up and you can watch the entire class. And
I mean, we always harp on this, but both of us believe that it is very, very, very important, if at all humanly possible, for your partner or spouse to attend a class or watch a class with you.
Yes.
Because when you are tired and it is late at night and whatever, your partner will remember things that you might not, but they are also getting a different viewpoint than what you have. So by standing above, like if she was over here nursing and I was like, you know what, you need to like change your latch a little bit because I see it from a different vantage point.
It's a different angle.
And it's also about support. It is always about support. Like I bring this story up with my sister quite frequently. And when the twins were born, I lived with them for 6 months. And I know not everybody has that luxury, to be honest. I'm very, very, very fortunate in that regard because I can work from anywhere. But I slept in the nursery for the first few months. And when the babies would wake up, I'd change their diapers. I'd talk down on the monitor to Jennifer and I'd be like, get up here, they're hungry. And she'd come up and she'd sit in her chair and we'd get them latched on. I would talk, I'd get her some water, and we would talk for about half an hour, 40 minutes, you know, or I would sleep. Because also it was very hard for me to sleep because you have paranoia. And so I would be like neurotic Jamie in that nursery on the floor, not able to sleep. And I'm like, the babies are good, the babies are good. And I would be up all night. And so sometimes I would use the nursing sessions to take like a quick half-hour nap. But then once I adapted, that's when I would actually talk with Jennifer. And it was a great time. I will remember those nights with those babies and her forever because it is about support. And if it is your husband or a friend or a postpartum doula or anything like that, like
it's
so massive.
Important. We need that support. And it doesn't matter who it is, but the people that are closest to you, to get them on board. One of the easiest ways, and this has been forever, of like, you know, maybe your partner's like, well, what's the big deal? Like, is it really that important to breastfeed? Like, why should we work so hard at this? You know, why is it really that necessary? Having them watch my class usually is the best way to communicate that information. It's clear, it's logical, and it really does leave you with a sense of like, oh, okay, I get it. And I literally, I have a mom who's in one of my groups. She lives locally here. I just saw her in person the other day, and Agnes, she did an amazing job. Her baby is 4 months old now. She had lip and tongue ties. The baby wasn't gaining weight. Like, I'm seeing her for consultations. This is a person who really had every issue and just refused to give up on breastfeeding. It's her third baby. And I saw her husband the other day and I said, your wife is amazing. Because now she's finally over the hump. She did everything I told her to do. She is exclusively breastfeeding. She's now getting ready to go back to work. And saw her husband, and he was like, yeah, it's really amazing. Like, he couldn't even believe that she was still doing it. Everyone who sees her, the doctors, the pediatricians, are just like amazed that she stuck with it. But that's support. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's getting the right support and knowing that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. So what's my site called again? Well, you can go to simplybreastfeeding.com to watch the class. You can also go to my Facebook group, which is My Baby Experts Community, and I see that Stephanie put it up there for me.
And she's been leaving comments. Stephanie has. I normally will tag Shari in the Facebook caption of the video, but when you tag two people, the algorithm gets affected and it's a mess. So I try to only use one tag per post.
Yeah, and if you go,
all you got to do is search.
And if you go to link that is in the post to enter to win the prizes. You'll have links to Byram Healthcare, byramhealthcare.com, which you can get your free insurance covered pump through, and that's who's actually sponsoring the Q&A today. So definitely go give them some love. Go over onto their Facebook page and give them some love there too. They've been really amazing this month in getting this information out to moms, and they have great resources.
Sarah Blanton, my husband says I have to do what's best for his baby, and that if I don't breastfeed, I'm a bad mom. But I don't have latch or supply issues. I hate to hear that, because you're not a bad mom.
If you don't breastfeed, it's not good or bad mom.
No, it's not good or bad mom. I think you're good. I think you're a very good mom. I don't even know you. We all try our best.
It's so hard. Right. It's so hard, you know. That's why just I think just getting the right support, being around the right people, and getting your partner involved, you know, involved. This is not about forcing anybody to do it one way or the other. This is about supporting moms to reach their personal breastfeeding goals, and whether that's like a week, a month, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, whatever that is, it's your personal goals. And then my class will help you to determine what do you want those goals to be. Sometimes we underestimate what we're capable of. So like we have these like goals thinking, oh, if I could just get through the first 6 weeks, I'd be happy, because we think we're not capable of doing it. And then you realize, oh my God, I've been doing this a year and it's working and it's really easy, and I'm getting through this. So you want to just keep that, your mind open for like the best case scenario. And that's like the first chapter of my class is establishing
one
those
day
first.
at a time. Like before I met Shari, I worked at a birth education center in Manhattan. And I went through tons of childbirth classes and all of that. I went through, breastfeeding classes galore. And there was a lactation consultant there, Ayala, and she is wonderful. But that was the first breastfeeding class that I went to. And at the end of the class, so much of that class, the first time I took it, blew my mind that I just never thought about like breastfeeding versus nipple feeding, and why babies aren't on the nipple. They actually need to get so much of that tissue in,
That's right.
et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
But we were at the end of the class, she'd be like, okay, now all of you make this promise to me. Nurse your child for the first day.
Yeah.
At the end of that day, if you want to, continue to day 2 and then continue to day 3. Yeah. And you always have to like just take everything one day at a time and be present. And
one day at a time. You know, it's kind of like if you experience discomfort, problems during your pregnancy, we don't think of it the same way, where it's like, we're not going to give up, we just need to get through it. And then there's a really good reason we're getting something amazing at the end, and it doesn't mean that it's not challenging or hard or painful at times. But we're getting something really good in the end. And so first of all, having some goals ahead of you, like this is what I'd like to have happen for breastfeeding in the best case scenario. Here's my support system. Here's my tools like a breast pump and all the services that I know are available to me. Here's my community, for the leaning into that community and getting that support. And then just realizing that and knowing why you're doing it, right? So that was the point, is like, knowing what the benefits are, knowing why you're doing it, knowing why this is worth it. Because, if you don't know why you're doing it, you may not have the same commitment to following through with it. And so learning about the benefits is super important.
Hold on. Somebody, Shannon said her best advice in her education was don't give up on your hardest day.
That's right. That's right. Reach out on your hardest day.
Yeah.
Reach out. And now that you know that you have lactation consulting services, right?
Hold on. Lindsay, I'm going to try. I'm used to my trackpad, so work with me here. Lindsay Eichenbacher, I think she has supply questions, so I'm going to scroll.
Yeah. I'm
going to try to find the root of this, Lindsay. I'm still waiting on my milk. Where I'm trying to find out like where it all started. Lindsay, I'm still waiting on my milk to come in. I'm trying all the tricks, teas, cookies, fenugreek, pumping, and having him try and feed on me. Any suggestions are welcome. Let me see how old your child is.
So she said 3 weeks.
I'm having to supplement because he lost too much weight.
I thought she said 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. I'm supplementing right now because he has to eat with SNS probably. Yeah.
Let's address weight loss.
Yeah.
You want to do that? You know, and I have no idea about Lindsay's situation, and it sounds like if she's got an SNS, hopefully she's working with an IBCLC. That's an international board certified lactation consultant. That's an expert in breastfeeding. That's who you want to be working with. If you're having any issues like that, especially a baby that's losing weight or a baby that's not latching well, all kinds of things in the beginning, you want to make sure you're working with the right person. But this whole idea of weight loss, you know, babies are supposed to lose weight in the beginning. And when we talk about the baby lost too much weight or is not gaining fast enough, that's what you typically see is moms being told that their baby needs to gain an ounce a day every day while they're breastfeeding. And if they're not gaining that ounce a day, then they're not gaining fast enough. And the problem is that's not how breastfed babies grow. They just don't grow at regular intervals, and they're not going to always gain an ounce a day. And if we put breastfed babies on the same parameters as maybe a formula fed baby where they're gaining more regularly, you're feeding them the same thing, the same amounts, the same regular intervals every single day, you're going to feel like there's something wrong with your breastfed baby. And so very often, and I have a whole class on low milk supply where I talk about perceived low supply and real low supply. And perceived low milk supply is probably the biggest problem for breastfeeding moms. And it's not even a real issue. You know, it's a perception that there's not enough, a perception that the baby's losing too much weight, or the baby, you know, in the beginning, or the perception that the baby's not gaining fast enough. Are there real low milk supply issues? Yes. Quite often it's the supplementation that's unnecessary, that could be unnecessary, that's causing you to now make less milk. Any kind of interference with breastfeeding, even, you know, that first hour, they just had a whole study, they had research come out just this week for World Breastfeeding showing that interfering with that first hour of breastfeeding has really negative effects on babies, and babies die because of that in different parts of the world where they don't have long-term breastfeeding because of that interference in the beginning. And how many moms are separated from their babies early on, you know, right after the birth or from a C-section, and they're not getting to feed the baby right away, get that colostrum into them, get nursing established right from the beginning.
That skin to skin is so important.
The skin to skin is so important. And so, you know, the most important thing, and we don't have time to talk about all of this, but the most important thing, as you can see, is to get the right information and be knowledgeable, because somehow the medical community is not all on the same page about all of this. And you can't just rely on the doctor's information, you know, on everything. You need to become educated yourself so that you know when there's a real issue and when there's not, and when there is any question that you're going to see an IBCLC to figure that out.
Lindsay, how much you're talking about your milk? Are you able to pump any at all?
She needs to make sure she's working with somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah. These are the issues that we can't address here online.
Yeah.
You know, I would need to know so much more about your case. Why don't you make sure you enter? Maybe we can do a telephone consultation if she wins the prize. So just make sure everybody's entering to win the telephone consults. And then maybe we could talk about it. But make sure you're seeing someone in your area. You need to be working directly with a lactation consultant.
Yeah, I'm trying to scroll back up through these questions to see if there was anything.
Again, go to the link in the post and then just follow through on the message from me, and I will send you everything we talked about today, links to all of it, including Byram Healthcare and how to enter to win and how to enter to win their sweepstakes and get a free pump and everything else through Byram Healthcare. The sweepstakes is for a newborn photo shoot.
Yeah.
By the way.
Yeah.
The free pumps everybody gets if you go.
I'm pumping an ounce out of each side in the morning and afternoon, but pumps during the day are little. She says she'll totally enter and she's seeing someone.
She is. Good. Fantastic. Yeah. And join me in my group.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really where we can continue on with these conversations and the live streams and everything else that I do to do questions and answers with you guys. But the real thing about that group is the moms that are in it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so they're
peer-to-peer support.
It's such good support.
But it's also educated peer-to-peer.
It's educated on there.
Support.
I'm helping to moderate so that I can add my input when we need to. But the moms are so amazing. I'm like blown away. Someone posts a question and there's like 20 answers and everybody's trying to support. And it's people from all over the world, which really is amazing to watch, just like what you were talking about last night in Spanish in South America. I think she's in South America. And, you know, these are the people in the group that are really getting the information. And look, we're the same. No matter where we are in the world, when it comes to our babies, when it comes to breastfeeding, there is no difference. We are all the same. And to feel like we can connect with people across the globe and still get that support, that's amazing. It just opened up your pool of support, right?
Yeah.
There's millions of us. So you love that group. Martha said she loves the group. Fantastic. Yes. Well, can we just say thank you again to Byram Healthcare? Byram, thank you so much. Thank you for everything.
Make sure you enter the link. Make sure you go check them out. And again, contact DME.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get it.
One of the things I love about Byram as a DME is that they make it super, super easy. So they have a whole online ordering system. Getting your breast pump through them is super easy. It's like 15 minutes. You go on, you fill out all the information. They'll send you your pump within 4 to 7 days. And their reps are really, really knowledgeable. So they're just a great resource in that way as well. And you don't have to wait till the end of your pregnancy in order to apply. You can apply with Byram like as soon as you know your due date. So when you know your due date, go in there, fill out your application. They may not be able to send you your pump till you get closer, but at least that's out of the way. You know, if you deliver early, if things get hectic at the end, you may forget. Get that out of the way. As soon as you know your due date, you can go ahead and start the process. And if you've already delivered and you're like, crap, didn't know any of this. Like I had my baby, never knew I could get the pump. You can still do that after the baby's born. So if you're sitting there with your 1 month old or your 2 month old and you're like, I want to get a breast pump, it's not too late. You can still do that. You can still do that.
Rachel has a question, tips for when baby starts solids. My son is 7 months old and started solids this month. He's already dropped a bottle at daycare. He's nursing fine at home.
Biggest tip is make sure you keep breastfeeding #1 for that whole first year. Introduce the solids. It's important for them to start eating some solid foods to get used to it, but the main nutrition that they're getting is from breast milk for the first year minimum. And so I would just feed the baby at the breast first, then go with the solids, whether that's purees or baby-led weaning, depending on what you're doing. It doesn't really matter. There's pros and cons for both, but make sure breastfeeding is still #1 so you don't interfere with your supply. They're still getting all that nutrition and all the immune protection and everything else that goes with breast milk.
Oh, Stephanie said she worked with Byram. She said they were great to work with for us, didn't have to do anything.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
Yeah, you want to
like
easy.
Make it simple.
Make it super simple. So you know what it is? It's like the best kept secret. And it's because it's such a good benefit. Moms tend to doubt whether it's actually too good to be true.
The coffee is really cold and not in a good way.
I'm not drinking coffee anymore.
Yeah.
You know, but if it's so good, sometimes people think it's too good to be true.
Yeah.
I've posted about free pumps before, and I've had people go, is this a scam? Is this real? Because it seems like, well, is it real? Could you really get a breast pump? But it's not. It's not a scam. It's real. And it's the law.
I just got my free breast pump delivered by Byram. They made the process so easy, ready to go with 6 weeks until delivery.
There you go.
There you go.
Sarah. Awesome.
There you're done. Got my pump in 3 days of filling everything out.
It's so easy. You just grab your insurance card, go online, and the whole process. They're just really set up for online orders like that. And so many of us like order online every day, so we're like used to that process. But they're just great customer service too. Yeah.
Well, we're good here. Thank you all for hanging out on a Friday. This is Friday, isn't it? Yeah. Friday mid-afternoon. And yeah, this is good. Good info.
It's good info.
Very good info.
Very good info. Don't forget to sign up for the giveaway.
Yeah.
And
Game on.
We'll be doing this again this month.
Yeah.
Yep.
We do Facebook Q&As
We'll be doing this
all
again.
the time.
Yep.
So see y'all and pay attention to my Instagram later. See y'all and be good.
All right.
Thanks for hanging.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Have a good day.
Get over here.